Welcome back. So, as you can see, right now, our workspace is empty and we cannot see anything on the preview screen. To see something on the preview screen and start to create our first scene, we can either create a layer ourselves, or import a graphic asset from the project panel. Let's open the folder of logo layers, and drag the triangle layer into our composition like this. Alternatively, we can copy a specific layer from another composition and paste it into the main composition. Let's delete this layer and do that. So select it and press the backspace or the delete key to delete it. Now let's go back to the logo composition, select the triangle layer, either from the preview panel or from the layer panel. Press Ctrl+C to copy it and return to our main composition. Now press Ctrl+V to paste the layer. Now let's learn about important tools and the basic layers settings in After Effects. You can close this folder for now. Alright, so first, let's learn how to center this layer in the composition. For this, we need to find where the center of the scene is. In this case, we can use the grids in After Effects, which we can find here. In our case, we need to use a grid called Title Action Save. But instead of selecting this grid from here, let's do it with a shortcut. Because we use this grid a lot, it can be annoying to come here every time and manually select this grid. Okay, so the shortcut for this grid is the apostrophe key. Let's click on the preview panel and press the apostrophe key. And now, we can see where is the center of the composition. Now we can move this layer manually by clicking on it and dragging it to a desired location in the composition. Or we can open the transform properties of this layer and change some parameters for different properties that we can see here. These are basic properties found in every layer in After Effects. To move this layer, we can change the value of the position property by dragging the values to the sides like this. We can move the layer left and right. And from here, we can move it up and down. Next, through the scale property, we can enlarge or reduce the layer. We can also set a specific value. For this, click the value and write 100. Then press Enter. Moving on. From here, we can rotate the layer by changing the degrees of the rotation property. I will set it back to 0. Using opacity, we can control the layer's transparency. And now, I want to talk about a property called anchor point. The anchor point, which is represented by the small cross in the middle of the layer. I will zoom in so that we can see it better. And now, let's understand its role. I'll close the zooming. And now, pay attention to how this layer rotates when I change the value of the rotation property. The layer rotates around its center. It rotates this way because the anchor point is located here. Now, I will select the anchor point tool and move it to this corner. And now, the layer rotates differently. It rotates based on its anchor point. Basically, the anchor point is what decides how the layer moves in response to certain actions. Alright, let's undo the changes by pressing Ctrl+Z a few times to bring the layer back to its original state. Set the rotation back to 0. And don't forget to switch back to the selection tool once you're done with the anchor point tool. And now, let's learn how to center the layer in the composition using the Align tool, which we can find here. If you can't see it here, you can find it under the window menu. Alright, so to center this layer, we need to click here and here. And now, let's say we need to enlarge this triangle. To do that, let's go to the scale property and change the value to 200. And there you go, the triangle is a bit bigger now. Let's close the layer for now. And now, let's zoom in a bit to see it up close. You can do it using the mouse wheel, or by pressing the keys you see now on the screen. Alright, now that we're looking at the triangle up close, we notice that its quality is not sharp, in other words, it's pixelated. Let's turn off the transparent background so that we can see it a bit better. And now, I'll explain how we can improve the look of this layer to its maximum quality. As you already know, this layer was created in Illustrator, which is a vector-based software. This means that no matter how much we enlarge this layer, it will retain its maximum quality and won't get pixelated. To preserve this information in After Effects, we can apply the collapse function, which is located here. In case you can't find it, you can click here to show additional layers functions. Okay, let's activate the collapse function. And there you go, the triangle is sharp and clean. Now let's use this opportunity to learn how to navigate in the preview screen while working with zoom like we are now. So, to move the screen, we need to hold down the space bar and move the screen in any direction we want. Or we can use the middle click on the mouse, for those who have it. And to set the preview screen back to normal, we can click here and select Fit. As a reminder, we are still in the process of creating the first animated part of the logo animation. In this part, we will show the character inside the triangle. It's worth noting that the silhouette of the female fighter is not a part of the original logo design. So sometimes, including design elements that are not present in the original logo design can help us to tell a better story about the concept of the company. Nevertheless, it's essential to discuss any such ideas with the client before implementing them to ensure they agree with your ideas. Alright, now let's learn how to add this cool character to our project. First things first, let's open up the Assets folder. Keep in mind that our project is super organized, so make sure to follow the same structure to avoid any headaches down the line. Let's go to the Assets folder and find the FreePic folder. It's a cool website where you can get tons of graphic assets for free. I named this folder FreePic, so I can remember where I got the asset from. Here, you'll find all the assets I downloaded from this website. We want to open up the Silhouette folder. That's usually what you get when you download graphic assets from the web. Before we import the graphic asset into our project, we need to prepare it for animation. Let me show you how. Right-click on the EPS file and open it with Adobe Illustrator. If you get this pop-up, just click Yes. Inside the file, there are additional layers besides the silhouette that we don't need for our After Effects project. Therefore, it's essential to prepare this file before animation. First, select the unnecessary layer and press the backspace key to delete it. Then, delete the small letter 2. Now, let's make the character bigger. When you select it, you'll see another layer with a white background. I can tell there's an extra layer behind the silhouette, because I see large layers borders that don't match the silhouette's size. Therefore, I know that there is some layer behind the silhouette that I don't need for my animation. So select it and click on the trash can icon to delete it. Click Yes to confirm the deletion. Now let's select the silhouette again and make it bigger while holding down the Shift and Control keys so it grows symmetrically. Great! And now let's center it using the Align tool. Click here and here. And now, after we've gotten rid of any unnecessary layers and enlarged the figure, we can save it as a new Illustrator file. So let's open the File menu and click on Save As. Now choose to save it on your computer. Let's save it in the same folder as this file. If you are not sure, you can go back to the FreePic folder and enter the Silhouette folder. Now, make sure we save it as an Illustrator file. Next, change the name to Athena Silhouette. And finally, click Save and OK. Now, let's minimize this window and bring the new Illustrator file we created into After Effects. Now let's choose how to import this file into our After Effects project. Remember, this Illustrator file only has one layer. Question: when we want to import an Illustrator file into the project, and it consists of only one layer, which option should we choose? In this case, we can choose to import it as a footage. Then, we can choose to import it as merged layers, because we only have one layer in this file. And here, we can see the Illustrator file in the project panel. Let's drag this file to our composition. Place it above the triangle layer. As you can see, this layer is quite large. Let's reduce it using the scale property. And to see only the scale property for this layer, we can select it and press the S key. Now let's click on the value and try to find a proper size. Maybe 50 or 20. Next, let's move this layer to the center of the composition to see if it's the right size. I think we can make it smaller and set it to 15. Let's leave it like this for now and move on. And because we know that this layer needs a scale animation later on, we will adjust the anchor point of this layer to the position from which the layer will grow, which is the center of this character's body. Currently, it's growing from the waist. Because the anchor point is here, we need to move it here. To do this, let's select the anchor point tool and move it here. Once done, let's go back to the selection tool and check how the scale behaves now. Okay, I think it's good. Let's bring it back to 15, close the layer, and press the shortcut Ctrl+S to save everything we've done so far before we continue. Great, and now let's bring back the transparent background. We can also apply collapse to this layer to preserve its maximum quality. Now, let's learn how to make the character transparent within the triangle boundaries. To do this, we need to use an After Effects feature called Track Mattes. To see this feature, we need to click here. And here it is. If you can't see it fully, you can enlarge this area a bit by dragging the small line here. I will zoom in to show you the line you need to move. I'm talking about this one. Just drag it to the sides like that. Alright, so what is the Track Matte function? In Adobe After Effects, Track Mattes are a feature used to control the visibility of one layer based on the content of another layer. And there are two main Mattes functions that we can use: Alpha and Luma. Alpha Matte is a technique where you use the transparency of a layer to control what appears on the layer above it. It's often used when you want to create cool effects like revealing an image through the shape of other elements. A Luma matte is a technique that uses the brightness or luminance information of the matte layer to control the visibility of the layer above it. The brighter areas of the matte layer reveal the content above it, while the darker areas hide it. The grayscale values in between create varying levels of transparency. Luma matte is often used for effects based on an image's brightness. They help isolate and reveal parts of a video based on their brightness levels and can be used to create artistic effects. Track Matte is a fascinating topic to explore. If you want to learn about them in detail and enjoy some engaging lessons, you can watch the free course I mentioned in the opening video. You can find the link to the course in the description below or in the PDF file in the main folder of the course that you downloaded from me. Alright, let's get back to our project. So to make the character transparent within the triangle boundaries, we gotta use the Alpha Matte function. For that, we need to drag the Track Mattes pick whip of the triangle layer to the character layer. This way, we turn the triangle layer into the alpha layer of the character. Now, the triangle uses the shape of the silhouette layer as a mask. And now, we just gotta make the triangle layer use the silhouette layer as a cutout shape. To do that, let's click here to invert the Alpha Matte. And there you have it. Now we can see the transparent character inside the triangle. With that, we're done designing the scene for the first animation part. Now let's move on to the next part and start to animate this scene. See you there. But before you dive into the next lesson, I highly recommend that you take a 10-minute break. Get up from your chair, do some light stretching, and drink a glass of water. This will help you to recharge your brain for the next lesson.